All right, chemistry people, let's do some quick practice to help us better understand some of that stuff we just talked about in the videos today. If you take a quick look at your guided practice here, we're going to do a couple of translations between word and formula equations, and then a couple translations between formula and word equations. So if you take a look at problem number 1, we've got 1 mole of gaseous methane, CH4. Now, it gives us the formula for methane since we haven't yet learned organic nomenclature. But some important things to keep in mind. I do want to include the state, which is a G, it's gas. It's 1 mole, so I'm going to not write it in, but understand that there's a 1 here indicating 1 mole of methane gas. Next, it completely combusts in the presence of 2 moles of gaseous oxygen. So as I look to include that, we're going to combust this in oxygen. I have to remember that oxygen is a diatomic element, so when it's by itself, I need to make sure that it's diatomic. There's 2 moles of this, and it's a gas. We then form, ooh, that just say form, not to from. We form, boop, there's my arrow. 1 mole of gaseous carbon dioxide, boom, CO2. There's some nomenclature for you. 1 mole of carbon dioxide, and don't forget that it's gaseous. And then lastly here, 2 moles of water vapor. So, and 2 moles, so we need a plus sign. 2 moles of water vapor. So some pretty easy nomenclature there. Vapor is a gas. But make sure that you include your states of matter and make sure that you include the number of moles of each of them. Because if we don't, then we violate the law of conservation of mass, which says matter and or mass is neither created nor destroyed. All right, but let's get a little trickier here. Guided practice problem number 2, we're gonna have to use some serious nomenclature here. An aqueous solution containing 1 mole of lead 2 chloride. Oh man. So here we go. PbCl2 aqueous, and it's 1 mole. Okay, again, you're gonna have serious problems. Go back and review your nomenclature if you don't know how I figured out that formula. We combine it with aqueous solution containing 1 mole of sodium chromate. Oh my goodness. So sodium chromate, CrO, whoops. Also aqueous. This is one that you're going to have to begin to learn on your own. It's not part of the Nick the Camel sentence for the polyatomic ions. So just more fun to come there. To produce, spelled that one right. One mole of a precipitate of lead 2 chromate. Okay, we can do this. 1 mole, easy enough. Lead 2 chromate. The lead has a positive 2 charge, the lead ion, and the chromate ion is a negative 2 charge. You only need 1 of each of those. It's a precipitate, so that tells me that yes, my state of matter is a solid here. Plus 2 moles of sodium chloride. Easy peasy, that's an easy one. We do it all the time. Plus 2 moles of sodium chloride. Aqueous. Boom. Okay, we are moving right along. You will find, I think, this next part to be a little more tedious. Formula equations are super nice. They convey a lot of information really quickly. It's like, again, texting for chemists. If you have to write it out in word format, it becomes a little more cumbersome, but we're gonna do a couple here. This here, 2Al parentheses S means we've got 2 moles of solid aluminum. see if I can nail this down, is added to, gotta get that plus sign in there, is added to 3 moles of aqueous zinc chloride. Remember, even though zinc is a transition metal, it doesn't need a Roman numeral. From, aka to form, whoops, to form 3 moles of solid zinc and 2 moles of aqueous aluminum chloride. Boom! So definitely a little more tedious to write things out, but essentially your brain needs to be able to say all of these things, even if you don't write it out, because we're going to be writing a lot of these equations and you have to be able to interpret that and understand what it means. Okay, and our last one for this video here, if you take a look at problem number 2, we have got 1 mole of liquid carbon disulfide covalent compound is added to 3 moles of oxygen gas. Now, recognize that this is diatomic oxygen. You have to include that. It's understood that when we're talking about equations that it's diatomic. To produce, let's change it up here. Let's change it up here a little bit. We'll say to produce. Ooh. You could also say to yield, to make. Anything there that you want to get excited about, use some synonyms if you want to get all English-y about it. Here we go. Our products, 1 mole of carbon dioxide gas. And don't forget our SO2. And 2 moles of sulfur dioxide gas. Whew. All right, so big takeaway here. If you do not know your nomenclature, that is where you need to start. Chemistry!